Hey guys, good evening. I hope I'm pretty much audible as well as visible. So just a quick hi or hello in the chat, guys, would be really good. So just do let me know if I'm audible, guys. Great. So good evening, Ali. Thank you for joining us. I hope I'm audible as well. Right. So I'm just fixing up a couple of things. Great. So great. Good evening, everyone. So we are into our playlist again. So we are talking about data analysis in 3 weeks. And yesterday we discussed about a few of the interesting data types, how we can load them up in Python memory. So we talked about text files, we talked about CSVs, right? So we were discussing about them. So today again we'll be continuing there, and I'll give you a recap of what we discussed yesterday, and then I'll also see how we can start with the data sets in terms of Excel files and also doc and also PDF, and we'll also see some of the recap on CSVs as well. Okay, so that's pretty much the agenda of today. So I again welcome everyone whosoever is part of our chat today. So I hope people are doing well. And guys, any questions, anything so far? If you're not able to understand any concept, do let me know in the chat. I'm pretty much monitoring the chat, and it's a live session, so we're pretty much live here. So any concern? I think there is some concerns here. Right. So I hope I'm audible, right? So it's like there was some internet issues, and I'm fixing that. Guys, do let me know if I'm audible again. So there was some internet issues, and I just fixed that. Looks like I'm pretty much good to go now. Okay, great. Hello, hi Mahesh. Thank you for joining us. So great. Let's quickly start, guys. So as you know, it's a pretty much a live session. So please utilize the time and ask any relevant question you have. So anything regarding data science, you want to switch your career, or placements, jobs, concepts in Python, whatever we have discussed so far, lists, tuples, dictionaries, functions, anything, guys. So do not hesitate. It's always a to and fro discussion. Make it interactive, right? So there's a difference in the recorded session and the live session. It's pretty much a live session. So please utilize the time, as I'm still forcing you to do that. So that always gonna help you, right? So please utilize the time and ask your questions. Okay. So moving ahead, let's have a quick introduction. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Arpit Jain, and I'm a lead data scientist myself. I have been into industry for almost 9 years now. That too into multiple domains. So I have been working with banking sector, automobile sector, manufacturing, cloud domain, telecommunication. So I've been into multiple sectors, and I was working as a data guy. So that's the benefit of being into data science, actually. So you get kind of an invisible immunity, right? But again, so there are pro and cons as well for this. So please, again, any questions, any doubts regarding that, please let me know. And also, I'm a motivational speaker, so I take up industry sessions. I talk to students regarding their job, career placements. So please speak up, guys, right? So it's all how you talk, how you portray yourself. So, and again, it should be important to know how you should be portraying yourself, right? So do let me know if I can be of any help here. Okay. Great. So we have Ali saying, I'm switching from project engineer to data engineer. I need counseling. Absolutely, Ali. So please put up your specific question so we can talk. So it's not a difficult thing, right? So that's a good thing that you know where you want to proceed. So if you have any specific question, do let me know. So I'll try to answer them, Ali. Okay. So any specific question, do let me know. Okay. So let me pull up the content slide. So let me just quickly open that. Give me a minute. Okay, so meanwhile, I should be pulling up my screen. Where is it? Where is it, man? Okay, right, so it should be pretty much here. Right, cool, it's here. Okay. Okay, Ali, quick roadmap. Yeah, sure. Hey, Vasant, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Roadmap, see again, for data engineer, it's more towards how you take up the infrastructure, right? So talking about your a lot of things which becomes important for data engineers. So you have to first understand the architecture of the deployment, right? So for that, you can focus on how the entire journey of a solution looks like, right? So data engineer generally does not really care about how model is being built. So you generally are not very into the machine learning part, but rather talking about how you can deploy that model, right? So that infrastructure part, it involves your microservices, cloud services, big data components. Coding definitely becomes your key part there. So coding on Python, that's something which you have to look forward to. And then also you have to look forward to integration part. So like message brokers, Kafka, your RPC services. So these are some important things which you can look forward to. So coding becomes one of the key factor here for you, right? So be really good in Python. So that's something which I would really recommend for a data engineer, right? And then Python integration becomes your job. So, and then multiple components comes, right? So tenure of that roadmap, again, it depends on the different modules. So Python is one of the key skill sets. So Python, you have to really go deep in this. And then you have to talk about other skills as well. So cloud services become one of the key skills for you, as I said. So microservices, then integration services, how to integrate the codes. So these are your important components, right? So and again, the tenure, it will be completely dependent of how exactly you can finish it up, right? So you can really work forward to your components. I mean, it depends on your capabilities. Again, objective here is to learn the skills, right? So do not think that you have to finish something. Think that you have to learn it, right? So then you will accordingly invest your time, right? So don't think that you have to just finish for the sake of it, okay? So that will be my advice. So look forward to learn something rather than just finishing that, okay? So that will change the thing for you. Okay, so coming back again. So coming back, so just to reiterate what we discussed yesterday. So how to create a data set? Data set, as in again, how to load up your information, the data available in the multiple files you have, right? So for example, you have text, you have CSVs, you have Excel, you have docx, you have PDF, right? So we saw text, how you can load a data from text yesterday, and then you can make up a data set onto a Python. So there are three methods we saw yesterday: read CSV, read table, and read the flex. The fixed width lines, so FWF, right? So three methods we saw yesterday. So here for the read CSV, we saw multiple arguments which can be passed here. You have seen that, right? So parameters such as your file name, your header, your separator, and by default, in the text file, the separator is exactly your space, a white space, right? So that's a character here, a space character. That's your separator in read CSV. So that's going to be the way you have to fill in for the file here. So separator here becomes an empty space. You can see this is an empty space here. And then your header, if there is none, then you can also specify your header here by writing the column names. We saw that. So we saw the text file also, gfg.text. We saw that yesterday. And that this is how we route the read CSV, giving a separator here. And then we know this is how the data set looks like, the data frame. Right. Now, eventually, just give me a minute. Let me restart this. Looks like there's something wrong in this. Okay, I need to, I think, restart this. There is kernel error in this. Just give me a minute, guys. Let me pull this up again. Just give me a minute, guys. Meanwhile, guys, again, please utilize the time. So I'm fixing this up. So there is some kernel error. So I have to restart the thing. So I'll just display it again on the screen. Meanwhile, any questions from anything again? So we can utilize the time. So meanwhile, I'm setting this up. So anything, guys, regarding your career, as Ali was asking this question, so we can take up another question if somebody is having that. So we can definitely utilize the time. So I'm meanwhile setting this up. Just allow me a moment, guys. Apologies for the slight delay. So somehow this is the kernel is dead for this. I have to restart it. Any questions, guys? Please utilize the time. Right. I hope my screen is visible, right? Again. Cool. Great. So yeah, so I was saying three methods: read CSV, read table, and read fixed width lines. Right. Simple. CSV there's nothing, so we use the separator as a space, and then we saw header. So header none. So if we specify header is not to be taken, so by default the first row will be taken as my header. So you can see that batter and bowler was considered as my header here by default. But if we specify header as none, then this batter and the bowler, the first row is also taken as my content, as my data, right? And then if this is the data, then I have to specify the column name also. So by default it's 0 and 1. So I can also specify the name. So I've given the names players, player 1 and player 2. So this is how it looks like. Cool. So we have a question from Mahesh. He says, is R important? Again, I would say in terms of probability of your selection process and in terms of the question which can be asked in the interview, if there are 100 jobs, trust me, 95 jobs will be focused on Python. Okay. So in that sense, the companies which are still working on R are quite less, significantly less. Okay. So if you have to choose between Python and R, definitely Python is what you should be learning in terms of data science. But again, if you think that you have a flexibility and you want to learn something extra, then there's no end to learning, right? So learning wise is fine. You can always learn R. It's a new skill set for you. But again, in terms of jobs, probability is definitely higher in Python. So there are, as I said, so 95 is to 5. That's the number of ratio of jobs you can see between Python and R. So that's what I would say. So then it's your call totally. Right, so now again we have read table. We saw read table simple. Again, it's as part of the pandas. So in pandas, you have the read table. We can specify the name and the delimiter is space. Same thing, pretty much fine. In FWF, fixed width lines is been taken as my fixed width line. So here we just only pass the name. We don't use anything else, right? So we just simply read and then we have the data frame. Cool. CSV. Okay, we have another question from Vasant. He says, how can I switch carrier hardware to software? Okay, I mean, how can I switch? So there are two things which you can do definitely. First is upgrading yourself. So if you're trying to make a switch to software, there's nothing which is actually stopping you. The thing which is actually stopping you is your confidence, right? So definitely you have to boost up your confidence. And how will you get this confidence? By having the right key skill sets, right? And what are your key skill sets? It depends on actually, you know, the kind of role which you are getting into. Like for example, data science. So data science has certain core key skill sets, right? You have to focus on upgrading your skills. That is how you'll be getting the confidence, and eventually that will be the reason for you to get a job. It's not like hardware. If you're working in hardware, that is something stopping it. Definitely it's going to be a hindrance, a hurdle, but that is not completely a black door for you. Okay, so it's, you should be knowing how to sell yourself. That confidence has to be there, and that confidence will only come if you are skilled enough, right? So focus on upgrading your skills. And if you want to work in software, choose the role which you want to get into. So data science has core skills. Some other software job has another core skill. So find the job, find the role which you want to get into, and then upgrade your skills accordingly. Okay. What's another question? Having a gap between. Yeah, that's also fine here. So a gap is also not an issue. If gap is justified, if you have a valid reason for a gap, no gap is a problematic thing. Okay, so it's fine. Gap is never an issue unless and until you can justify that gap. Okay, so be true to yourself and then always be, you know, ready to explain what has happened. And if you're true enough, if you're able to explain with the right reason, there's no problem in the gap. Okay, another question from Hellfire. Okay, I am amateur in Python and I am a economics honors graduate from Delhi University. How long will it take to be a data scientist for me if I study 2-3 hours a day? Okay, so a good question actually. So to become a data scientist, okay, again, as I said, there are certain core key skill sets. For you, it's statistics, machine learning, Python, and SQL. Okay, so these are your core key skill sets. Okay, anything apart from this is a advantage for you. Okay, so if you have it, like for example, big data, Tableau, Power BI, Hadoop, I mean, a lot of things, man. So cloud services, microservices, as I was saying, right? So these are your additional skills. What are the core key skill sets? Statistics, machine learning, Python, and SQL. So get into a structured learning, get into a proper structured learning, how you can learn statistics, what all content you need to know in stats, right? So get into a proper structured learning. You can join a course maybe, and then focus on upgrading yourself. That is something which is very important. Okay, Hellfire. And then if you spend 2-3 hours a day, that is really irrelevant because and it's quite a comparative analysis, right? So for me, maybe half an hour a day would be still sufficient to be really good in Python. For somebody else, maybe 2 hours still not be very good, right? So it's not about spending 2-3 hours, but again, 2-3 hours is a very decent enough time to upgrade your skills per day if you're spending, right? But again, it's also important, like how you are able to grasp the thing. So I mean, judge yourself. End objective is to upgrade your skills. How soon, that's your relevant analysis, right? But again, skills are stats, ML, Python, SQL. You have to upgrade on these key skill sets. Okay. Okay, great. So let's move. So CSV, so CSV, we thought about the first method in using the CSV library, right? So in this CSV library, we saw about the reader function. So we imported CSV library and then we use CSV.reader, and then we opened a file which is a CSV file here, and then we passed this file as on top of my CSV reader. So now the file has been read. It's an inbuilt, it's a variable now at this point of time. So we have created this file object now. From this file object, we have to find out the data and the header, right? So again, we can just simply use the next operator to find out my first row to get the header, and then post that every other row would be my data, right? So we saw that, so it's gonna be my list of lists. So first list, the header, the first data, and then the respective rows will be my data points. Cool, so that's how things are. Cool. Now in terms of second method, we saw about read lines, right? So in the read lines, how this is happening, guys. So here we have instead of opening an element just as a variable, we have used along with the with operator, right? So with, it becomes a iterator object, right? So we know that. So if we're using with open as the local file name for the system ABC, we have used the content, we are creating a new variable content, and we are reading this data, which is CSV file, line by line. So we are reading the lines of this data. Okay. So here now after we have read the data in the content, so what we are saying is read from the very first line of my content will become what? Will become my header. As simple as that, right? So very first line becomes my header. This is what I've done here. And then the next line onward, the second line onwards becomes my row, because this is my data. We saw that, right? So this is how it is. So we got the list of elements here. So the first list is basically my header, and the second list is basically my elements, right? Now, one thing, so since it's a read line, it's a line by line operation. So every line is ended by an end of line character, which is /n, right? By default. So this is the reason why we are having /n here at the end of every data point, right? So we can obviously get rid of this /n, is nothing but a space character for me. So we can use a dot strip function, and we saw yesterday also how we can apply this dot strip function on top of my header and the rows. So ultimately we end up having, after doing the dot strip on top of my header as well as all of the row element, we are finally having the simple data. So my header is here and my data points are here. So I am rid of the /n character. It's plain simple. Cool. Chalo, yahan tak tumne dekha tha kal, we saw till yesterday. Now another method is using pandas, right? So pandas, we saw read CSV yesterday, right? So we saw read CSV. So read CSV for the text we saw. Now here we can simply use read CSV for actual CSVs also. Here in terms of separator, it's not gonna be a space. Instead, it's gonna be a comma here, right? Cool. So it's not gonna be a space. It's gonna be a comma. Cool. Simple. So here the separator is gonna be a comma because it's a comma separated values file, CSV file, right? As simple as that. Very simple. So here, if you're gonna do it like this, so df is data is pd.read CSV, df the CSV name, and here we can specify separator is equal to comma, and if you're gonna read it, we're gonna have pandas is not imported. Just a minute, so I'll just import pandas as pd, and then I'll just import it. So now can you see this? And I think somebody was asking this question yesterday, right? That how can I bold the column names? And I think somebody was asking this question. See, as I was saying, it's anyway not needed, right? But again, if you use the by default the pd.read CSV function, right, it automatically does that for you. It is very, it's more presentable way of looking at the data. You can see this, right? So this is bold. Now indexes are bold also. The data is it's normal characters. So you can, it's pretty much presentable, right? So you can see this. So to answer your question, as I was saying, so we have a functionality directly. So when pd.read CSV is by default does that. So pandas by default does that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. I think yes, you were asking that. Okay, we have another question from Vishnu. Sir, I'm very interested in coding, but I'm not able to coding. Please help, sir. Okay, so Vishnu, again, to answer your question, see, it's not like I can give you a pill and then you can eat overnight and you will become really good in coding tomorrow. It doesn't work like that, right? So coding is all about practice. Okay. So, I mean, yes. So you need to know the basics, that is for sure. So you need to know the concepts well for any coding language. But coding is all about hands-on. Okay. So I can still teach you because see, it's very, I mean, it's very, I would say comforting for you. It's a comfort zone for you to just go and watch some video, right? It's very comforting. Your brain will always keep on telling you that, okay, just go and watch some video. Watching video is always easy. Trust me on that. I'll tell you. But again, once you actually go on the ground and start doing the coding, right? Even the same thing which you watched on the video, you might still feel the heat. Trust me, that is very true. This is very common for everybody, right? So ultimately, coding is not about watching videos. You cannot learn coding by simply watching video. Again, it's not like I'm kind of de-promoting my thing. No, it's not like that. But it's very practical, okay? Yes, you need to know the basic. That is true, okay? I can teach you basic in the videos, but I cannot practice on the behalf of you, right? Like on behalf of you, I cannot practice. You have to practice it. This is the reason why I have always been asking in the class, are you guys practicing also at home? Are you guys also solving this question at home, right? Are you guys trying this? Because coding is very important. For coding, you need to practice it, okay? Yes, once you have learned the concept, done. Then you have to practice it, okay? So Vishnu, to answer your question, coding can only be improved with practice, okay? Okay, but anyway, as I said, so we are also starting another stream where we will be practicing the question side by side, okay? So I was also planning to have another playlist where we'll be doing a question from the standard coding websites such as HackerRank, LeetCode. So we'll take up the questions from coding questions from Python and some other topics, and then we'll start solving them, okay, live. So we'll do that. I think that will help also. Okay, Mahesh has another question. Sometimes it is necessary to install pandas also. Here not required. What is the difference between install and import? Very good question. Very good question, Mahesh. Okay. So see again, whenever you have, whenever you start something, when you start working on any code, right? Like for example, Python, right? So for example, I have installed Python in my system. So whenever I'm installing something, so there are some default libraries which gets installed at the time of Python installation itself, right? But again, there are some new libraries which you generally use, okay? So here, for example, pandas. So pandas, I generally use pandas. So pandas, I have installed it once. So once you have installed a library, right, it will stay in your system, okay? So you're not supposed to keep on reinstalling the same thing. That is not required. Do you reinstall software in your laptop every time? Whenever, suppose you're playing a video, do you install VLC player every time? No, right? VLC, you just install it once, and then whenever you run something, whenever you run a video, you just call the VLC player which is already installed, and then you run your video, right? The same thing is valid here also. So once you have installed pandas or any other library, it is there in your system. Okay. Now once it is there, you can just import it. So to install your system, we use pip install. Okay, that is for installation. And once the system is installed, now you have to call it. How are you gonna call it? That is through import. Okay, we import the libraries, import pandas. So we are calling the libraries. Okay. But a good question, Mahesh. Thank you so much for asking it. So how are you gonna install that, guys? It's gonna be under, so here pip install pandas. As simple as that. So if you run this, the pandas will get installed for you. Okay. Great, Vishnu. Thank you so much. Chalo, let's proceed. So let's start with Excel today. Okay, so we'll try to wrap up the things quickly. So let's see how we can work on Excel. Okay. So Excel. So there are 2-3 ways we can import an Excel file. So what is an Excel file? The format Excel XX. Okay. The file format Excel SX is one of the Excel format which we use, right? And it's slightly comparatively trickier to import compared to my comma separated values file. So I have mentioned 2 ways here. Okay. So method 1 using the libraries such as XLRD and OpenPyXL. Okay. So you can see this. So these are my modules XLRD and OpenPyXL. Okay. So these are some standard libraries, open libraries again, which you can install. And how you going to install that? I've mentioned this also. So pip install OpenPyXL, for example, pip install XLRD, for example, right? So you can just simply import it. Okay. And now how you can use it in terms of OpenPyXL and XLRD is simple, very simple. So now here, for example, I've just imported OpenPyXL here. And OpenPyXL, we have a function called as load workbook. Okay, we have the function called as load workbook, and the load workbook we can specify the XLSX file. Okay, let me just show it to you like how the XLSX file looks like. Just give me a minute. Right, so now here, let me just show it to you on the screen. Where did it go? Okay, just give me a minute, guys. Right. I hope you are able to see the Excel file, right? So this is the Excel file which I'm trying to import. So I have two tabs here. Okay, so there are two tabs, as you can see. The first is my name. So name, I have the batsman and the bowler, my column names, and this is the names here. Okay, and then I have another sheet which is age. Okay, so in the age I have player and age. So I have all the player names mentioned here and then the age. Okay, so I have two sheets in this. So one is my name and another one is age. Okay, so I'm trying to import this Excel file into my Panda, into my Python. Okay, so now how can I do that? Let me just open the code. Right. So now can you see this? What I'm doing right now is in the code, I'm just trying to read this load notebook. So workbook gfg.xlsx, and then I've done nothing. So let me just a minute. I think I missed that part. Okay, so right, so I can just use it. Right, so we have the worksheets here, so we can use the workbook.worksheet. So we can specify the and here using the workbook.worksheets, we can specify which worksheet I want to use. Okay, so we can specify the worksheet name as 1, so maybe my first sheet or the second sheet. Okay, and then once we specify the worksheet which I want to load up, and then I want to simply iterate over the elements. Okay, so we have to iterate, like for the first sheet, the max number of rows. For each column, I have to identify the column name and then specify the end character as /t and then keep on adding the values. Slightly trickier way. Okay, as I've mentioned also here, own complexities. Okay, it is I would say OpenPyXL and XLRD. These are the modules which are I would say more rarely used. The reason is the kind of complexity it involves. Okay, I'll first show you the more easier way how we import it using the Pandas. So Pandas generally has a very simple functionality available here in its own modules called as read Excel. So can you see this? Earlier we were to import the CSV file, the comma separated values, we are using the read CSV. But again in Pandas we have a simple function called as read Excel. Okay. So read Excel, what it does here in the read Excel, we're gonna specify the XLSX file. Okay. And then we have the kind of argument called as sheet name. Okay, in the sheet name we can specify the sheet name directly. So what are my sheet names? I showed it to you, right? So let me show it to you again. So I have my two sheets. Can you see this? I think I am showing you the wrong one. Just give me a minute. This should be the one. Let me just close this thing. It should be visible. Yeah. So I have two sheets here. Can you see this? I have one sheet as name as one sheet is name, NAME, N is capital, and another sheet is age, AGE, right? So these are my sheet names, right? What I'm passing in my code also. So can you see this in the code? The name of my sheet is nothing but NAME, right? So I'm passing the code NAME directly, which is here, and I'm specifying that now you have to load up the data from this sheet NAME. Okay. Also, I can simply give the number as well. So instead of giving NAME the name here, I can also give 0. This is still fine. So again, in Python, indexing starts from 0, right? So to find out the first sheet, I can give the number as 0. Still okay. Okay. So either 0 or name, I can give that. Simple, it's very simple. So once I've done that, the data will get loaded in a plain simple pandas data frame. Okay, now we have Excel data here. Now Excel data got converted into pandas data frame. So this data frame, again, we'll be discussing about data frame in the next session, but don't worry about that. Once the data is get loaded, I've converted this into a pandas data frame. So how the data looks like is very simple. I'll just show it to you here. Now can you see this? I have batsman and the bowler, and then I have the content, which is part of my data. Plain simple. I can also do it like this. Suppose I have to load for the second column, age, right? So for the age, I can simply do data, for example. So age here, AGE, or just give 1, for example. If I give it like this, I'll get player and age. Right? Simple. I'll just get player and age there. As simple as that. So it's quite, I mean, it's comparatively very easier to load up the data from the pandas module. Pandas gives you such functionalities, and it's very user friendly for your own day-to-day job. That is the reason why we have mentioned a dedicated session on pandas also. So pandas and NumPy, they are very handy libraries available for your data analysis job, right? They are very handy functionalities available. So don't worry. So we'll be anyway covering pandas and NumPy in this data analysis playlist also. Okay, so don't worry about that. Cool. Clear, guys? Makes sense? Excel looks good to you? Okay, we have another questions from Mahesh and Hellfire. So Mahesh says, would you also be sharing the file we are working on previous classes as well? Thanks. Yes, Mahesh, as I said, so yes, I'm looking forward to share these files as well. I have to still discuss with the ops team how I can share this. So as I was saying, so as part of the playlist, so I can attach these files as one of the content in the playlist, but I'm still working on that. Okay, so I'll update. So it should be definitely available on this course sheet itself. Okay. Hellfire says, please tell us the difference between data scientist and data analyst. Good question. Okay. Okay. So technically, I would say there is a core difference, but again, in some, if you talk about the company's designations, so in company designations might vary, right? So in designations might vary from company to company. For example, if you're still working as a data analyst, but still might be doing a job of a data scientist in a company. So these designations are very confusing. Okay. Yeah. But again, there is a core distinction also. I'll tell you that. So data analysts are the people who are doing all the number crunching work. Okay. So for example, taking up the data, doing all the statistical analysis, bringing up the stories, doing the dashboarding, bringing up a nice story, nice inferences from the data. So all the number crunching work, all the analysis job is done by the data analysts. Okay. What are data scientists? Data scientists are the people who do almost everything what data analyst does, plus machine learning. So plus the ML model, predictive model on top of that. So that's what data scientists are. Okay. Great. Cool. So makes sense, guys. Great. Let's proceed. So pretty much it. So I can give a sheet name here as one, still fine. So we can give that. Let's come back to our interesting topic for the day, which is docx. Okay. So how we can work on docx now. So Excel is pretty much fine. It's simple. Now let's understand how we can work on docx. So let me show the docx file which I have prepared. Show intent. Just let me know if you can see in just a minute. I'm trying to load up the file. So this is the which I have created. Okay, so for the session today. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so we have the sample file here. So it has a plain simple content which talks about it's a simple thing. So it talks about your simple. So I have a sample file as a header. Okay, and then I have content like I have 2 lines here. This is a simple sample file. This is getting used for sample purpose. And then I have a small table also. ABC column 1 1 2 2 3 3 1 1 1 2 2 2 3 3. So I have this small doc file. Okay. Now look at this. So this doc file has 2 important content here. The first is the text. Okay. So text, you can see it here. This is my text, right? So text, and the other one is table. So this is my table, right? So now text ideally should be read as text, and table should ideally be read as table. This is what my intent is, right? This is what I should be having. So I'll tell you how exactly this can be done, how you can read the text separately and how you can read the table separately. Okay, so I'll show you both the codes. Okay, so this is how my say doc looks like, but let me show it to you code how we can read it up. Okay, so now coming back to our code. So on this code specifically, now look at this code, plain simple. So here, how to work on docx. So Python docx can be used using the library Python docx. Okay, so Python hyphen docx is a very good library. Which can be used, which can be installed, and from this you can work on a docx file. Okay, so but meanwhile, let's talk about a few questions. So Mahesh has a question. Oops, concepts planned. To be honest, oops concepts are not planned in this playlist. So we'll be focusing on the data analysis on Python using Pandas NumPy. Okay, but oops is not planned for this. But again, if you're looking forward to that, maybe I can talk to the ops team and then we can plan a separate session for that. Ajay has a question, sir. Hello, sir. I'm making a vocabulary app. So please tell which database I can use. Which database you can use for a vocabulary. I need to really look into this, Ajay. So I don't have a name handy with me right now, but I can look forward to that. Okay, so maybe I can take this maybe in tomorrow's or some day after tomorrow's session. I'll try to come back to you with a database name. Okay, so let me check this and come back to you. Vishnu has a question. So, sir, notes, please. I'm really good at understanding your explanation. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for appreciating that, Vishnu. And for the notes, absolutely. So, as I said, so I'm still in discussion with the ops team. I'll try to add create a kind of a repository on Drive, and then maybe I can try to upload that link in the playlist itself. Okay, so maybe from there you guys can access. So allow me some time. Meanwhile, you can always go back to the video and then refer the notes for your purpose. And this will actually also help you to kind of make your own notes, because anyway you can pause the video and then you can just copy the notes, copy the code on your own system also. You can always do that, right? So try to be more interactive till the time I'm getting these notes for you. But again, it's not a very intense content, right? You can always stop the video and then try to code it on your own. You can always do that. Okay, so try doing that, because see, again, if I give you the notes, right, doing a control enter is always easy, but writing the same code will be giving you trouble. Trust me on that, guys. I'm still telling you this. Okay, so don't simply wait for the notes. I'm working on that. Don't worry that I'm really working on it. But till the time you're not having the notes, you're still not stuck, right? You can always go to the video and then type the codes on your own. You can still do that. So don't worry about it. Okay, right. So let's understand the docx for now. Okay, so for example, docx here. So pip install Python docx. Simple. We have the function here. We have the library here. Pip install Python docx. So we can work on this. Now, how to import the data? Okay. So how we can do this? So this is my library name. So docx. So from docx we are importing the function document. Okay. So we could have directly written import docx. This is also fine. But in that sense, I would have written docx dot document. Okay, so this is a difference. But what I've done here is from docx, instead of importing all the functions, I have just imported one function. Okay, so this docx library might be having n number of functions, right? So maybe I don't need these many functions. I can simply import only one function from docx. So the syntax to write that is from that library name. So from docx, import the function name which you want to import, which is document, right? So I'll be doing that. So now here, since I've imported this document directly, so this is available into my library, into my environment as directly as a function. So I can call this document directly. Okay. So now what I've done is in the document, I've just written the document name docx gfc.docx, which I was showing it to you. Okay. So now how does docx work? So docx read the data in form of the paragraphs. Okay. So now what it does, a single character, a single line. So every line will become one paragraph kind of a thing for the document for me here. Okay. So for each of my paragraphs, so for each of my such paragraphs, so the loop is for I or for para in document.paragraphs, print the text. So from that paragraphs, whatever the text is available, this text is my function. You have to print that. So now if you see this, look at this. How does it look like? So I have sample file. This is my header, right? and now I have these two sentences. I showed it to you, right? So these are my two sentences. Now I have the header here. Cool, makes sense. But interestingly, if you would have noticed, it has not printed the table for you. It has just extracted the text. Okay, there's a difference in that. So as I said, docx can still have tables, right? It still can have tables. So here the sample file will be your header and then the content for you. Cool. So this is how I'm reading the text. But now how to access my tables, that becomes important. Okay. So for the tables, there's another set of functions which we can use. I'll just show it to you. So in this document also, so for the text, we use the function paragraphs. Okay. But for the table, this document itself, which we created here, right, it will by default save the tables also for you. So how will we get? So from document.tables, we can get the tables for me. But this table will be in the object format, table object format. Okay. Now we'll have to get the data out of this table. So for that, you have to write the things in a loop. Okay, as simple as that. It's not that tricky. So for example, because there could be multiple such tables, right? So again, it's just a table object, and from that table object, you have to find each and every table, and then from that table, you have to find each and every row, a table content, the column, the rows and the columns, right? So that's how you have to extract it. So there are two rows. Okay, basically there are two rows, two for loops. The first for loop is if there are multiple tables in the document file. So if there are multiple tables, you'll keep on getting the indexes of it. For example, here, so for index and table in enumerate document.tables, enumerate means you're again creating an iterable object on top of this, right? So if there are multiple tables, you're getting multiple indexes likewise. But for example, here I'll be having only one table. So this first index will become 0, right? So print tables, table 0. They'll be like table 0 for me, right? Now within this each table, you have to find out the rows. So for row in range of length of table dot rows, so how so many rows are there, you have to just keep on iterating it over it. So, and again, also for column in range of table dot column. So the first row will become my column eventually, right? So this will be my column name. You have to keep on printing the row and the column accordingly. And the end, and here is /t is your end of line character for me. Okay, just fetching the table object and then iterating it over the content to find out my rows and columns. Okay, if I do it like this, now can you see this? I have my first table in front of me. I have my table 0 and the content where it is A, B, C, and then I have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and then 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. Clear? Make sense, guys? Is this code making sense? Just a quick yes or no, guys. I understand slightly trickier. This code would be slightly trickier, but it is important for you to understand few things here. Okay. I hope you're trying to understand what I'm trying to say. I mean, at least the basic sense you are able to get it right from the code. Just a quick yes or no in the chat, guys. What is enumerate? Okay, enumerate is one of the inbuilt functions which creates the iterable object. Okay, so it kind of, okay, maybe I'll just go in detail about enumerate tomorrow. So I'll give you a few more examples. Okay, on enumerate. Enumerate, just think that it's more like an iterable object where you create. It's just like an alternative to range, or more smarter range. So in enumerate, you get the indexes also basically. So in range, you don't get the index, right? You just get the values of the range index, the whatever element you have, right? But in enumerate, you get both the values as well as indexes. Okay, so that's the basic difference of enumerate. But I'll give you more examples. Maybe we'll take it tomorrow, so don't worry about that. Okay, but again, I've just given you a very simple example, guys. Very simple example. But again, in docx, you have multiple formats, right? So there could be left side, right side, lot of other things, right? So a lot of other things. We can really think about that. So maybe I can we can just stop it here for now. Okay. So we can actually I can give you a few more examples, few more complex docx file tomorrow, and then we'll see how we can work on that. Okay. So but again, okay, we have one question from Akash. Could you please explain for loop inside for? Okay. This one. Okay, so this is my first for loop. So here I'm first finding out my first table. Okay, so as I said, there could be multiple tables for me, right? So table 1, table 2, table 3, but luckily we have only one table structure here. So now the index for the first table will be 0, right? So the first table will be 0. So this is why the reason why print is table 0. So this is my, for every table, this loop will be valid, right? Now for the table 0, I'll be inside my this loop. Okay, this is my first loop for the data. In this, what I'm doing is, so for every row, okay, so till the time my data is valid, so till the time my number of rows are there, you have to run this again. And for each of the rows, for each of the such rows, you have to print the data column wise. Okay, so how many columns are there? Depending on that, you have to print the row value as well as my column value for each of such cells. And what is my cell here? This is my one cell. This is my another cell. This is my another cell, like that. Cool. Yeah, but don't worry about this. If you're still not able to understand it, maybe I'll try to give you a few more examples. Okay, so let's try to. I mean, if let's give it some time. Okay, let's. I would request you to still go back home and read this code. Go back to the video and watch it again, and then try to understand this code. If you're still not able to understand this, please do, let's have another discussion tomorrow. So I'll still have the same topic tomorrow. Don't worry about that. Okay. Maybe we'll focus on docx and PDF tomorrow dedicatedly. Okay. And I'll show you multiple formats of docx. I'll show you different complex tables which can be read. Okay. I'll give you a few more examples. So we'll try to code it live and then we'll see what will happen. What change will happen if I do something else. Okay. Yes, very good question, Mahesh. If there are multiple tables, this enumerate will keep on giving me the indexes of such multiple tables. So table 0, table 1, table 2. So for every table, it'll keep on printing my rows and columns. Okay, yes. If there are multiple tables, this code will still be valid for the multiple tables. But again, as I said, I'll give you a few more examples tomorrow. You'll be able to more understand this code. So don't worry about that. But I hope you're still able to get the basic sense of how we can read the docx file, right? Cool guys, pretty much it. Thank you so much. So I think we did some really good discussion today, and thank you so much for asking so many questions. This is something which makes the class pretty much live and interactive. I'm really happy for that. It's okay we were not able to complete the complete topic. It's totally fine. I'm not rushing into things. Okay, I'm totally not rushing into things. My intention is not to complete the topics. My intention is to make you learn, and at the end of the day, you should be comfortable in that topic, right? Then there's no point of me completing the course. There's no point of that. Okay, so don't worry about that. So I'll again take the same topic tomorrow. We'll discuss docx and PDF dedicatedly tomorrow. We'll do that, and then I'll show you a few more interesting examples on docx and PDF. So don't worry about that. Cool, great. So thank you so much, guys. Let's wrap up today. Let's meet tomorrow, same time, 10 p.m. With more examples on docx and PDF. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. See you tomorrow, same time. Till then, happy learning. Bye bye.